Welcome to the lab. In this lab, we are going to explore whether a suspected email that we have received is really a phishing attack or not. There are three big goals in this lab. The first is to check whether the URL in the email is malicious or not. The second goal is to check whether the file attachment in the email is malicious or not. And finally, we are going to check the reputation of the sender domain. Now here is the email that you have received. Supposedly it comes from Wells Fargo, your bank, and it asks you to secure your Wells Fargo account. Now as you can see, the actual email comes from the email address support@vansplunterin.net. Regardless of what it says here, the actual email address may be quite different. So this is something you need to be careful about. Supposedly this is from your bank, Wells Fargo, and the email is specifying that there has been some suspicious activity on your account, as a result of which they have blocked your account and you need to unblock it by clicking on the login link. Now if you look at the login button, it's always a smart idea to right click it and see the actual URL which it links to, which in this case is this one, russellvillia.buzz/1/2/3, and the sender email is support@vansplunterin.net. Your first task is to check if the URL in the email is malicious or not, and we are going to leverage two tools, Zulu Zscaler and VirusTotal, which are going to help us make this decision. Now both of these tools have a backend database and they have an extensive listing of known malicious URLs. And they also have engines which can compare the content of the website against known malware. So let's fire up Zulu. For your safety, I have included the URL as an image so that you do not accidentally open it. So let's type the URL. A little word about Zscaler. So Zscaler is basically software as a service platform which basically creates a secure HTTP tunnel and forces all of your corporate traffic to go through its centralized platform where all of your traffic is checked for the presence of malware or other types of attacks. Zulu itself is one of the tools offered by Zscaler. It is an online system where you can submit URLs to get a dynamic risk scoring based on the content of the website. So let's submit this URL for analysis. So as you can see, Zscaler considers this URL and this website associated with this URL to be benign, and it has a risk score of 0 out of 100. Now let's see what VirusTotal says. Let's fire up VirusTotal. And let's go to URL. So VirusTotal offers a number of services. You can submit a file directly for analysis. You can even submit a URL, or you can even search for malicious IP addresses or malicious hashes of files. So let's submit our URL. And let's submit it. Now in contrast to the results shared by Zulu Zscaler, this is definitely a website which hosts phishing content, and it hosts a number of different types of malware. So what VirusTotal does is that it submits the contents of the website to a number of engines, for example that's developed by Fortinet, Google Safe Browsing, CleanMX, and a number of others, and it provides a comprehensive listing. So even though this URL escaped detection through Zscaler, but we were able to successfully detect the possibility of it being malicious using VirusTotal. So it is always a good idea to perform multiple checks before making a decision. So in conclusion, we can safely assume that this is definitely a phishing attack, because when you click the button, it is going to take you to a website which definitely hosts malicious content. So the second step in our lab is to check if the attachment in the email is malicious or not. Now we can do it in two different ways. The first way is to directly submit the file to VirusTotal and let it figure out if the file contains malware or not. So let's do that first. Let's fire up VirusTotal. And Please remember, if you have a suspicious file, please do not open it directly. Always put it in a sandbox folder and then submit it by dragging it to VirusTotal. So now we want to submit a file, so we'll select file and then we can simply drop it here. So as the results show, no engines were detected in this file and the file is clean. But sometimes you don't even want to download a suspected file onto your system. It may even be against your IT security policy. But what you can do is to submit the hash of that file. Now usually if you're using Office 365, so sometimes you can get the hash of the email attachments. But even if you don't have it, you can submit it online. There are some websites which can help you calculate the hash. So let's do that. We have a website, mdfile.com, and if you submit your file to this website, it is going to calculate the hash for you. So let's select the MD5 hash here and then simply drag and drop the file. Now as you can see, we get MD5 hash as well as SHA1 as well as SHA256 and so on. But we just need the MD5 hash. So let's copy that. Let's go back to VirusTotal and submit this. So as you can see, VirusTotal allows you to submit the URL, IP address, domain or file hash as well. So let's submit the file hash. Now why do we want to submit the file hash and not maybe the name of the file or something? Because you can rename a file, so a file can easily be renamed. So using file name is not such a great idea. A malware can simply masquerade as a different file. So a better and more sophisticated technique is to calculate the hash of that file so that even if the file is renamed, the hash remains the same. And then you can feed that hash to VirusTotal for checking if it is malware. And you can even feed, if you for example detect that it is actually a malicious file, you can feed those hashes into your security tools such as your antivirus and so on. So we can conclude that the email attachment is not malicious. Now let's go to the final step of the lab. We now need to check the reputation of the sending domain. Why this is important? If you're receiving a constant barrage of emails which contain phishing links from a particular email address or a particular domain, and when you check the reputation of that domain and it turns out to be a malicious domain or something which has a long history of sending malicious emails around the world, then you can maybe simply block that domain by adding it to a blacklist in your corporate network. Now a nice tool to check the reputation of domains is Talos Intelligence. It's a tool by Cisco. So let's fire that up. As you can see, the name of the domain where we received the email from is vansplinterin.net. So let's submit that to Talos Intelligence. So the results from Talos Intelligence indicate that the web reputation for this domain is unknown. However, we also note that this domain is not specifically blacklisted. It is not uncommon to receive these sorts of results because there are so many domains out there, and if they do not have a track record of sending phishing emails, then they may not actually be blacklisted. So this completes the step for this lab. Now we'll discuss the task that you need to perform. So here is the task that you need to complete. You have received an email supposedly from your water company informing you about your water bill, and they have also included a URL in case you need to contact them for further details. So I've included the URL and the sender email separately as well. There is also an attachment with this email which is basically your water bill, but instead of the actual file, I've shared a hash of the file. You need to complete 3 tasks. You need to investigate and find out if it is a phishing email or not. Secondly, is the file malicious or not, and you have to use the hash that is given. And finally, is the sending domain reputable or is it blacklisted? The solutions to these tasks are given on the next page. That concludes our lab. Thank you.